Yeah, hello students. Good morning, all of you. Once again, a warm welcome to the mobile computing online class. Today, lecture number 4 in unit number 3. So here in this lecture, I covered the topics. Uh, Reverse tunneling and some part of optimization. What we discussed in the past class, optimization, route optimization, reverse tunneling, and IPv6 and introduction part of DHCP, dynamic host configuration protocol. So these are the topics we have to cover in this lecture. Uh, as usual, before going to start this session, just we recall the what we discussed in the previous lectures. Then only we can easily understand the today's topics. This is lecture number 4. The previously the lecture number 3, we covered the topic that is tunneling and encapsulation. And encapsulation mechanisms, encapsulation types, that is IP and IP encapsulation, minimal encapsulation, and generic encapsulation. So before that, in the previous video, we covered the topic of IP packet delivery. So how an IP packet delivery is done from one correspondent node to the one node to the another node, that is one station from one station to the another station. How a packet is transmitted. So via the home agents and the foreign agents by using internet that we covered there in the past video. So in this way, data packet is transmitted from correspondent node to the home agent to the foreign agent. So foreign agent here also care of address. So foreign agent to the mobile node. So from the mobile node, it directly reaches to the foreign agent via internet to the correspondent node. So working of mobile IP, and as usual, the mobile IP through there are three phases. That is agent discovery. It will be done by using agent advertisement and agent solicitation and registration, and as usual data transfer. So here in the data transfer, so a data is transferred. So data is transferred to a tunnel and by using encapsulation techniques. In sender area, in sender's perspective, data is encapsulated at the correspondent node. So it is decapsulated at the receiver's end. So the encapsulation techniques are IP in IP encapsulation, minimal encapsulation, and the generic encapsulation. So what happened there in IP in IP and minimal and generic that we covered in the last video. So IP in IP, all these are belongs to 32-bit representation. So the packet is a 32-bit. So here in the 32-bit, so payloads, source address, destination address. So a had a old IP header and a new IP header. So unshared fields are copied from the inner IP header to the outer IP header in the IP in the IP. But here some repetitions are happened. So to avoid that repetitions, here in the minimal encapsulation technique is developed. Here in the minimal encapsulation technique, so which avoids the repetition of the identical feeds in IP encapsulation. So and finally, actually generic encapsulation. It is the generic routing encapsulation. Packets of one protocol suite into the payload portion of packet of another protocol suite. So it allows the encapsulation of packets of one protocol suite into the payload portion of the packet of another protocol suite. So that is generic routing encapsulation. So in this way, packet is encapsulated at sender side and transmitted via a tunnel. So after reaching to the destination, it is decapsulated. And here in this lecture, so optimization. So what happened here in the optimization is it is a scenario, of course, where the mobile node is in the same such network as the node to which it is communicating, and home agent is on the other side of the world. So it is a triangular routing problem. So here in the optimization is the triangular routing problem. So corresponding node wants to communicating with the home agent wants to communicating with foreign agent. So that is good. Corresponding node communicating with home agent communicating with the foreign agent. But what happened there in the foreign agent is some mobile at that particular time mobile node there in one care of address. So after some time it moves to the some other location. So there is a multiple care of addresses for the mobile node. So that means FA new and FA old. So FA old means the previous address of mobile node, and FA new is the current address of mobile node, but the home agent will communicating with FA old, and FA old will communicating with FA new and identifies the exact location of mobile node. Then the corresponding node transmits the data packet to the mobile node. So for that purpose, HA informs the correspondent node of the location. So it needs four additional messages. So these are the four additional messages required to identify the mobile node by the HA. So how HA identifies the mobile node is, for that purpose it needs four messages. Those are binding request, binding update, binding acknowledgement, and binding warning. So these four messages are required for the identification of mobile node by the home agent. So in this way, mobile node, remote host, and the home agent. So this is the diagrammatical representation. So correspondent node to the home agent to the foreign agent generally. But here the foreign agent old, that means the old address, old correspondent address of the mobile node. This is the new correspondent address, a new address of the new FA. That is new correspondent, new care of address of the mobile node. So old care of address, new care of address. So old FA and new FA. So at the time of sending a packet, mobile node is available here, old FA. So that's why correspondent node sends packet to the old FA. But mobile node is not available in the old FA. It changes its address. So it moves to some other location, that is new FA. So old FA takes the responsibility and identifies the new FA and informs to the HA, home agent, informs to the HA. So HA sends a reply. In this way, packet is delivered to the mobile node. Generally, first the correspondent node sends a packet to the old FA. So because HA gives the address of old FA to the correspondent node, HA gives address of the old FA to the correspondent node. That means mobile node is available here, but mobile node is not available there. It moves to some other location. Whenever the correspondent node sends a data packet to the old FA, so there again old FA identifies the address of new FA and inform to the HA, and HA sends reply. Then packet is transmitted to the mobile node. So that's why there are four messages are there. Those four messages are first binding request, update, acknowledgement, and warning. So binding registration request, binding update, and it forwarded to the HA, binding acknowledgement from old FA to the new FA, and registration request, new FA to the HA, and registration reply from home agent to the mobile node, and retunneling. So packet again transmitted to the mobile node. So in this way optimization is done. So that we discuss here. The correspondent node can request the current location from the home agent. If allowed by the mobile node, the home agent returns the care of address of the mobile node via an update message. The correspondent node acknowledges this update message and stores the mobility binding. Now the correspondent node can send its data directly to the current foreign agent FA world. So if you observe this, now the correspondent node can send its data directly to the current foreign agent, that is FA world. Correspondent node sends packet to the FA world. Simply in our words, we are the correspondent node, that means you. So you have to send data to your friend, that is mobile node. Then the time of sending packet to your friend's mobile, he is available in Vijayawada. But at the time of reaching that packet to that particular address, he moves from Vijayawada to Rajahmundry. So the mobile node changing its address. So the care of address of initial address, that is old FA, identifies the address of new address and sends update to the HA. That's why correspondent node in this way sends data packet to the mobile node. So the correspondent node can send its data directly to the current foreign agent FA world. So FA world forwards the packet to the mobile node. This scenario shows a care of address located at the foreign agent. Encapsulation of data for channeling to the care of address is now done by correspondent node, not the home agent. So generally encapsulation is done by correspondent node, not the HA. Generally done by HA, but here correspondent node. So the MN might not change its location and register with a new foreign agent. So that is FA new. So MN now changes its location and register with a new foreign agent, that is FA new. This registration is also forwarded to the HA to update its location in database. So furthermore, FA new informs FA world about the new registration of MN. FA new informs FA world. FA new informs FA world the new registration of MN. So MN's registration message contains the address of FA world for this purpose. So passing this information is achieved via an update message which is acknowledged by FA world. So without the information provided by the new FA, the old FA would not get to know anything about the new location of MN. So if new FA sends an update, then only FA world identifies where the exact location of mobile node. Otherwise, it doesn't know about the location of mobile node. So without the information provided by the new FA, the old FA would not get to know anything about the new location of mobile node. So in this case, a correspondent node does not know anything about the new location. So it still tunnels its packet for mobile node to the old FA. So a correspondent node doesn't know about the exact location of the mobile node. That's why it sends its packet to the old FA. This old FA now knows these packets with the destination MN, but also knows that it is not the current FA of MN. So FA world might now forward these packets to the new care of address of mobile node, which is FA new. That is in this example. So this forwarding of packets is another optimization of the basic mobile IP, providing smooth handovers. Without this optimization, all packets in transit would be lost while the mobile node moves from one FA to another. To tell corresponding node that it has a stale binding catch, FA world sends a binding warning message to CN. CN then requests a binding update. Whenever the FA world sends a binding warning message to correspondent node then requests a binding update. That means where exact location of mobile node. So the home agent sends a update to inform the correspondent node about the new location, which is acknowledged. Now correspondent node can send its packets directly to FA new, again avoids triangular routing. So unfortunately, this optimization of mobile IP to avoid triangular routing causes several security problems. This is the optimization. So optimization means identifying the address of mobile node. Here the problem is triangular routing. That means correspondent node wants to send a data packet to the mobile node, but mobile node changing its location frequently, then it's a bit difficult task for the corresponding node to transmit a data packet. So correspondent node communicating with the old care of address, that is FA world, then FA world identifies the FA new. In this way, data packet transmission is done. Corresponding node, home agent, old FA, and old FA identifies the address of new FA, and from there onwards the data packet transmission is completed. And now reverse tunneling. So what happened here in the reverse tunneling is the reverse tunneling path from mobile station to the correspondent node. In general tunneling, what happened here in the tunneling? There in the tunneling is the a path, their data packet is transmitted from sender to receiver. Sender to receiver, that means correspondent node to the mobile node. There in the tunnel technique, data packet is transmitted from the correspondent node to the mobile node. So in the correspondent node, that means in the sender's area, their encapsulation is done. In the receiver's area, that is in the mobile node area, their decapsulation is done. But here in the reverse path from MS to the CN, it looks quite simple, as the MN can directly send its packet to the CN as it any other standard IP situation. So that we discussed there in the IP packet delivery. So how an IP packet delivery is done to the mobile node and from the mobile node to the mobile node is done via correspondent node to the home agent to the foreign agent to the mobile node. So to the mobile node in 3 steps. But from the mobile node to correspondent node via home agent, it directly reaches. That is here, mobile node can directly send its packet to the corresponding node as in any other standard IP situation. So the destination address in the packet is that of correspondent node, but it has some problem explained below. So these are the problems. What happened when directly he sends a mobile node to the correspondent node, communication is established and destination address is correspondent node. So it quite often firewalls are designed to only allow packets with the topologically correct address to pass to provide a simple protection against misconfigured systems of unknown address. That is the first problem, firewall problems. And the second one is, however, mobile node still sends packet with its fixed IP address as source, which is not topologically correct in the foreign network. So firewall often filters packets coming from outside containing a source address from computers of the internal network. This also implies that a mobile node cannot send a packet to a computer residing in its home network. So while the nodes in the home network might participate in a multicast group, a mobile node in a foreign network cannot transmit multicast packets in a way that they emit from its home network without a reverse channel. The foreign network might not even provide the technical infrastructure for multicast communication. So, if the mobile node moves to a new foreign network, the older time to live might be too low for the packets to reach the same destination nodes as before. So, time to live must be too low. If mobile node moves to a new foreign network, the older time to live must be too low for the packets. So mobile IP is no longer transparent if a user has to adjust the time to live while moving. So a reverse tunnel is needed that represents only one hop, no matter how many hops are really needed from the foreign to the home network based on the above considerations. The reverse tunneling is defined as an extension to mobile IP as per RFC 2344. It was designed backward compatible to mobile IP and defines topologically correct reverse tunneling to handle the above started problem. So this is the reverse tunneling RFC 2344 from mobile node to the correspondent node. How it went to the foreign agent to the home agent to the correspondent node. This one is not good. That's why mobile node sends to FA. FA tunnels packet to HA by encapsulation. HA forwards the packet to the receiver. This is the standard case. So in this way, reverse tunneling is done. So the reverse the path from MS to CL. Tunneling means sends a packet from correspondent to mobile node. Reverse tunneling means mobile node to the correspondent node. The next one, IPv6. So I think you guys followed this reverse tunneling. So what is the data packet transmission corresponding to mobile node, corresponding to the home agent to foreign agent to the mobile node. But the reverse mobile node to corresponding node data packet transmission is done directly to the via foreign agent to the correspondent. But there are some problems are occurred in the situations. So to avoid that, so path is established in this way. The next IPv6. The design of mobile IP support in IPv6 Internet Protocol version 6, that is mobile IPv6, benefits both from the experience gained from the development of mobile IP support in IP version 4. So it is the development of IP version 4 and from the opportunities provided by the IPv6. So mobile IPv6 thus shares many features with mobile IPv4, but it is integrated into IPv6 and offers many other improvements. I think you guys covered these IPv6, IPv4 topics in the networks in your previous semester. So mobile IPv6 thus shares many features with mobile IPv4, but is integrated into IPv6 and offers many other improvements. This section summarizes the major difference between mobile IPv4 and mobile IPv6 are there is no need to deploy special routers as foreign agents as in mobile IPv4. There is no need of special routers as foreign agents in the mobile IPv4. But coming to the mobile IPv6, it operates in any location without any special support required from the local router. Mobile IPv6 operates in many locations without any special support required from the local router. The, the support for route optimization is a fundamental part of the protocol rather than a non-standard set of extensions. So mobile IPv6 route optimization can operate securely even without pre-arranged security associations. It is expected that a route optimization can be deployed on a global scale between all mobile nodes and correspondent nodes. So support is also integrated into mobile IPv6 for allowing route optimization to coexist efficiently with routes that perform ingress filtering. So the IPv6 neighbor unreachability detection ensures symmetric reachability between the mobile node and its default router in the current location. There is a default router in the current location. Here they coexist efficiently with routers that perform this ingress filtering. So most packets sent to a mobile node while away from the home in mobile IPv6 are sent using an IPv6 routing header rather than IP encapsulation. So it reducing the amount of resulting overhead compared to mobile IPv4. Mobile IPv6 is decoupled from any particular link layer as it used IPv6 neighbor discovery instead of ARP. This also improves the robustness of the protocol, and the use of IPv6 encapsulation removes the need in mobile IPv6 to manage tunnel soft state. The dynamic home agent address discovery mechanism is mobile IPv6 returns a single reply to the mobile node. The directed broadcast approach used in IPv6 returns separate replies from each home agent. This is the IPv6 and IPv4. Difference between IPv6 and IPv4. And next one is the dynamic host configuration protocol, DHCP. Last topic. So here the DHCP is an automatic configuration protocol used on IP networks, and DHCP allows a computer to join an IP based network without having a pre-configured IP address. DHCP is a protocol that assigns unique IP address to devices. Dynamic host configuration protocol. This protocol is allows a computer to join an IP address network without having a free configuration IP address. You have to remind this. DHCP is an automatic configuration protocol which allows a computer to join an IP based network without having a pre-configured IP address. So DHCP is a protocol that assigns unique IP addresses to devices, then releases and renews these addresses as the devices leave and rejoin the network. So if mobile node moves from that particular location to another location, it releases and renews these addresses as devices. Again, allocate these IP address is allocated to the new device which entered to the that particular area. So if a new computer is connected to a network, DHCP can provide it with all the necessary information for fully system integration into the network. For example, address of a DNS server and the default router, the subnet mask, the domain name, and the IP address. It providing an IP address makes DHCP very attractive for mobile IP as a source of care of address. And DHCP is all based on a client server model as shown in the below figure. Client server based. DHCP is based on client server, and a client sends request using MAC broadcast to reach all devices in the LAN. But a DHCP relay might be needed to forward requests across interworking units to a DHCP server. So consider the scenario where there is one client and two servers are present. A typical initialization of a DHCP client as shown in the below figure. The client broadcasts a DHCP discover into the subnet. There might be a relay to forward this broadcast. So in the case what shown below, two servers receives this broadcast and it determines the configuration they can offer to the client servers reply to the client's request with the DHCP offer and offer a list of configuration parameters. The client can now choose one of the configurations offered. The client in turn replies to the servers accepting one of the configurations and reject the others using a DHCP request. This way, client server DHCP discover from this way, DHCP offers and DHCP request and DHCP acknowledgement. First, if it discovers, it offers. It requests, it acknowledges from client to server. DHCP process, the general basic process of DHCP. Discover, offers, request, and acknowledgement. So, if a server receives a DHCP request with a rejection, it can free the reserved configuration of other possible clients. The server with the configuration accepted by the client now confirms the configuration with the DHCP acknowledgement. This completes the initialization phase. So, what happened here in the initialization phase? First, DHCP discover. Next, the client broadcast DHCP discover. Server sends DHCP offer. Again, client sends DHCP requests. Again, server sends DHCP acknowledgement. In this way, path is established between client and server. The configuration a client gets from a server is only leased for a certain amount of time. So the connection is for some amount of time only. It has to be reconfirmed from time to time. Otherwise, the server will free the configuration. This timeout of configuration help in the case of crashed nodes or nodes moved away without releasing the context. So in this way, client server path establishment is done. So multiple servers, server 1 and server 2, DHCP client. So first DHCP client sends discover message to servers. Then DHCP server sends offer message. Again client sends request message and server sends acknowledgement message. Here the acknowledgement message from server 2. So client server to the client connected to the server 2 here. DHCP request. Lease renewal acknowledgement. If he completed the task work and he sends release request to the server. So how a system is connecting to the server. So there are multiple servers are there. Client wants to communicate. Client wants to send a data packet. So first he wants to establish a path. So how he establishes a path is first he sends a discover message to the servers. Server sends an offer message to the client. Client sends discover message to the server, and server sends offer message to the client, and the client sends request message to the server, and server sends acknowledgement. Which acknowledgement is reached first to the client? Client connected to that server. So he completed the task. Again he wants to continue. He sends renewal request. He doesn't want to continue. He sends release request. This way, path establishment between client and server. Dynamic host configuration protocol. Whenever a mobile node reaches to one particular new foreign location or that new pair of address, there the how the connection establishment is done. While moving also into connecting to the servers. So DHCP is a good candidate for supporting the acquisition of care of addresses for mobile nodes. That's what we discussed just now. So care of addresses are changed repeatedly because mobile is the movable one. It's moving from one location to the another location, from one tower range to another tower range. Automatically care of address of mobile node is changed. DHCP is a good candidate for supporting these type of situations. Why? Because whenever the client correspondent node sends a request to the servers, so server sends acknowledgement. Before that, client sends discover request, server sends offer request. So whenever it reaches the offer request to the client, client sends request and server sends acknowledgement. So after getting acknowledgement, he connecting to that particular server. The same holds for all other parameters needed, such as address of the default router and DNS servers and the time servers, etc. A DHCP server should be located in the subnet of the access point of the mobile node, or at least a DHCP relay should be providing forwarding of the messages. So RFC 3118 specifies authentication for DHCP messages so as to provide protection from malicious DHCP servers. So without authentication, a DHCP server cannot trust the mobile node and vice versa. So without authentication, a DHCP server cannot trust the mobile node and vice versa. In this way, a mobile node, how it changes its care of addresses and how the care of address is identified by the corresponding node to transmit the data packet. So that is dynamic host configuration protocol. DHCP is automatic configuration protocol. Whenever the mobile node moving from one location to the another location, automatically it connecting to the one server to the another server. So how the process is going there is in this way. So how a mobile node will connecting from one server to the another server while in the moving. So we are starting from Gunturu to Tirupati. Automatically we are reaching via Mongolu, via Kavali. In this way, so automatically the mobile node connecting from one tower to the another tower. So how it happens is it sends requests to the nearby servers. So first it sends a discovery request or a discovery message. The server sends offer message. So after receiving offer messages, client sends request message. If it will be accepted by the server, it sends acknowledgement. Then it connected to the server. So it is the continuous process until the end of the journey. So in this way, mobile node communicating with the correspondent node and how a client connecting to the server. So in this way, we are using a DHCP protocol. Is the end of unit number 3. So here in this lecture, we cover the topics of optimization. So here in the optimization, how correspondent node identifies the mobile node. How a correspondent node identifies the mobile node. Correspondent node identifies the mobile node by using a home agent and a old foreign agent and new foreign agent. So identifying the new foreign agent is the responsibility of old foreign agent. So correspondent node communicating with old foreign agent. Old foreign agent identifies the address of new foreign agent and sends it to the home agent. So home agent informs to the correspondent node and correspondent node sends packet to the mobile node. So here the triangular problem and reverse tunneling, how the mobile node sends. So in this way, correspondent node sends a data packet to mobile node. How a mobile node sends a data packet to the correspondent node? That is the reverse tunneling. In generally, mobile node sends directly to the correspondent node, but there is some problems are occurred. So for that purpose, so in this way, mobile node communicating with the correspondent node. So and there we are using the protocol of internet protocol version IPv6. So what is the specialization of IPv6? For that purpose, here we compare the IPv6 with the IPv4. And finally, DHCP protocol, dynamic host configuration protocol, how a client communicating with the server and how a client connected to the server. So this is the end of unit number 3. So just we recall the syllabus is all we covered or not. So IP and mobile IP network layers, packet delivery and handover management, and location management, registrations, tunneling and encapsulations, and finally route optimization and DHCP. So we cover all these topics with these 4 lectures. This is a very small unit and very important unit because of the network point of view, how a packet is transmitted, how the path is establishing by the network layer. So again, I will back with a overview video of this unit number 3. Thank you very much.